Our first speaker of the day has incredible knowledge on the national foster care situation, on state efforts across the country, and church and faith-based initiatives from coast to coast. Lynn Johnson is currently the president of All In Fostering Futures. This is a nonprofit agency focusing on driving national initiatives to combat the crisis of children aging out of the foster care system while encouraging adoption and addressing poverty and human trafficking. Prior to All In, she served as the highest-ranking child welfare official in the United States. She's the former Assistant Secretary for the Administration for Children and Families in the U.S. Department of Health and Services. She previously served as Chief of Staff to Colorado Lieutenant Governor Janie Norton and was Deputy Director for Policy as well as Policy Advisor on Human Services issues to Governor Bill Owens. So she knows what she's doing. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. She has been married for 37 years and has 3 adult children. Her only passion greater than serving vulnerable and exploited populations is her deep faith in Jesus Christ. Let's give a warm welcome to Lynn Johnson.
Good morning, West Virginia. I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you to Steve and Don. Thank you, Greg. Thank you to everybody who is here, who I met last time I was here. Wow, to get asked to come back and talk to you was like such an honor. I am so excited. I want to start. 2 things. One, let you know that I'm using my notes because otherwise you'd be here and none of the other speakers would get to talk and we'd be talking at midnight. So I'm going to try to stick to the script. I get excited about this topic. I love what you just heard from Promise 686 because there's hope. I want you to hear that, see those kids, faces, not cases, and know there's hope. And the hope is you. America's Kids Belong said it. All of us say it. You can do something to change the story, to change the journey, and to completely impact West Virginia. See, I'm already off script. Let me start by repeating one of my favorite Bible passages, and this one keeps me going. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. That's Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. I'm neither. I think about strength and I think about courage. But here's what I know. With my faith and with my love for God, He will never leave me. And personally, that is what keeps me going. That's what gives me hope. That's what gives me hope in you. That's what gives me hope in West Virginia. Be strong. Be courageous. I think we can do that in West Virginia. I know we can do that in West Virginia because you all are already doing it. I know that when Steve and Don first started coming to West Virginia, the road was not nicely paved for them. There were ups and downs. There were hard times. There was spiritual warfare. There were barriers. There were challenges. But because of your strength and your courage, children's lives are changed. Families are changed. Good things are happening. You all can do this. And you can do this. And I'm just going to tell you, see, I did it again. But anyway, it's an honor to have the mic. But if you do what we're going to talk about today, we're talking about children. We're talking about child welfare. We're talking about strengthening families before kids get removed. This isn't just child welfare. Think about this. Addictions go down. Unemployment goes up. Homelessness decreases. Domestic violence is reduced. Abuse and neglect stops. This isn't a one-touch issue. It's a whole-touch issue. And that's what you're all doing. So this is really exciting for me to see this. I was here 2 years ago. And I would say I came here to talk and to see Chestnut Mountain Ranch. Steve came to D.C. I didn't know I was going to see miracles happen. But that's what I saw. Miracles happen every day. We all know that. It's exciting to know that you all are changing the foster care system in West Virginia, and Ohio, and Georgia, and Texas, and the whole United States. I went letting Steve stop in just West Virginia. When I went to DC, there were a few things I had to do. At first, it took me almost 2 years to get there because of that great confirmation process where they grill you about every single thing you did since you were 5. Then I get into the office. You never assume you have a second term. Probably good I didn't do that. And then I said, what can we do to have an impact? What can we do to make a difference? And I picked 3 things. The first was human trafficking. It's a big passion of mine. It's time to stop it. $92 billion industry, let's stop this. The second was, and it's not quite as, it's like not quite as sexy, I guess, if I can say that in the church. Is that okay? So we looked at regulatory reform. I looked at the thought of my staff in Colorado spend 70% of their time on paperwork, compliance, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and 30% of their time looking kids in the eyes. They were looking at cases, not faces, because they did not have time. I want faces, not cases. And then the third was child welfare stuff. I thought, these are things we can do. And I will tell you, the reason I looked at this was I was that human service secretary in Colorado that really wanted to change things. So when I found out there was something that the federal laws didn't let me do, I'd call the regional office. They say, no, you can't do that. So I'd call the regional office in Maryland. They didn't care. I'm from Colorado. And they'd say, yeah, I guess you can do it. And then when I got in trouble, I'd say, well, the regional office told me I could do that. The weird part was I ended up being in charge of the regional offices when I went to DC. But I took on 2 things around child welfare, the front end. 62% of kids in child welfare are removed because of consequences of poverty. Substance abuse, unemployment, mental health, 62%. Imagine, and we said, what if? What if we wrap around those families so you didn't say, you just lost your job, you just lost your house. I think I'll take your kids too. Oh, that helps you get better. So as we look at that, what can we, community, do for that family that's struggling? The next piece was that we looked at, what happened was somebody said, why are you working so hard on the front end? What about those kids that are stuck in the system? I met a young man who had moved 92 times in his short time in child welfare foster care system. 92, do the math. And then every time he moved, they handed him a trash bag and said, you can only fill this up. Or he would have a small suitcase, but you could only bring what you can fit in there. 92 times. Another young boy, 18 moves in 18 years. Something was not right on the back end. And so I started looking at these kids, and I'm a data geek, so I jump in and I look and find out that we had 126,000 kids out of the 450,000 who had parental rights already terminated and/or an adoption plan. Of that list, 20,000 of those kids age out with no forever home. So I thought, well, what if we decide to do something about the 126,000? You can bite that off in the whole United States. We could do something. Now think about this. If you have no emotion to this, you could care less. 126,000 caseworkers see them every month. Every 6 months they do a new case plan. There's a lot of paperwork to that. But then if they all were in forever homes forever, and you reinvested your child welfare block money on the front end for the 62%, you could have a child welfare system half its size in about 5 years. Wow. Governors liked that. So I called every governor until I ran out of time. 46 governors said they're all in for kids. They will focus on those 2 things. 46 governors. It didn't matter that I came from a Republican Trump administration. When you talk to governors about kids, it matters. And 46 governors said, I'm all in for kids. 1 tribe and 1 territory. That's pretty exciting. And then the feds at the White House said, why'd you go to the governors? And I said, because if anybody's like me, we didn't listen to the feds. Let's keep this going after we're gone so that every time you don't have fits and starts. Okay, do what you're going to do. And I did. And then I thought, this can't stop. First time ever in history in 2020, we had numbers moving in the right direction. Instead of not more kids, we had less kids coming into care. We had more kids get adopted. Now, of course, I took the credit, but it was only a little bit, but it's a start. The next year, of course, COVID hit. But just last couple months ago, I got the 2021 numbers. We went from 126,000 waiting kids to 117. States are doing it. We had less kids coming into care. Thank you. But we don't know that there wasn't an impact from COVID. Seriously, so we have to be really careful. You've already heard the numbers. 20,000 kids age out, 1 in 4 youth and young adults will experience homelessness. Young women will get pregnant. Nearly 1 in 3 are involved in the criminal justice system after they age out. You've got 58% will graduate from high school, fewer than 3% will get a bachelor's degree, less than 1% will even try for a master's degree. And one number that I think fascinating, 1 in 4 will have PTSD worse than our veterans. What are we doing about that? Very little. One number I found really fascinating is that for every young person who ages out without a person who loves them, the cost is about $300,000 over a lifetime. For every kiddo that ages out without a loving person. Take 20,000 young people each year, multiply that by 300,000 over a lifetime, and we're talking about $1 billion and billions of dollars. Are we okay with that? Do you know the cost of prevention is a quarter of that, if that? Loving someone some days doesn't cost you a dime. So if we have all these kids aging out, putting their stuff in trash bags, being told they have no value, and then they are on the streets, and then we say, well, why can't they get a job? What's going on? So I was really concerned. 50% of the kids that are sitting waiting to age out are in the home that wants to adopt them. 50%. But for paperwork or dockets. And so I asked the kids, you're safe, you're in the home that wants to adopt you. And they said, well, we don't believe that. We don't know that till it happens. So that's continued trauma. Then you talk about, I went to the caseworkers. I love caseworkers. It's the hardest job on earth. And I said, what's going on here? Why don't we just close these cases? Well, because we know they're safe and 20 new crises just happened and we have to go there. The crisis, it is true. So when you look at that, you go, you know what? Caseworkers and judges don't have to be the closers. Why are we locked into a system that stops good things from happening? What if we use paralegals? What if we have interns? What if? We have to do better. We have to change the number of times a child moves in the system. We have to change the impact on a person's trauma. So I'm on a mission, and I've talked to the governors, and then I come home. And I'm walking around the house going, I swear, I prayed on my move to D.C. My whole family said, this is a mission, you're going to go serve. And then I was home. And I said, Lord, what now? What next? And I heard really clearly, you met people throughout the whole world. You were blessed, and I was. God put me in a seat, and I wasn't going to waste it. Use it for these kids. All right, Lord, I'm here at my house. What does that mean? Within 2 days, a young man called, and as I met with these governors to ask them if they were all in, I always asked if I could meet with kids who had aged out, or family members, or adoptive members. And this boy calls, he says, hi, this is Deshaun. Remember me from Indiana? Sure I do. I was at Indiana State getting a degree in computer science, and I wanted to finish my degree. I was getting straight A's. COVID hit. Okay, he's now kicked out of the dorm, goes back to the foster home who said, you're aged out, you're not in foster care, and you've been around people, and I don't want to get COVID. So he said, so I'm going to go to LA to remake myself. Okay. Can I stop at your house on the way and spend the night? Okay. And so I said, I just got home, there's boxes everywhere, but there is a bed. And his words were, "I've slept in worse." Okay. So he comes, he doesn't just spend one night, he stays for a little while, and then he leaves. His stuff's all still there. So I call him, I say, "Hey, Sean, you left some of your stuff. Do you want me to mail it to you?" And he said, "Oh, no, I'll get it when I come home." My husband looks at me and said, "I think we just got adopted by a 21-year-old. Okay. And Sean is still in our life, and he's been home a lot. And he actually just was sworn in for the Navy, and it's really exciting. But he and my son really got along well. And my son does 14ers and climbs mountains and fishes and camps and does all this stuff, and Sean loves that stuff. So they talked about getting together in the summer. Okay, good. So while they're getting together in the summer, Sean says, "You know, when we're in foster care, we don't get to have any sleepovers. Because the people we sleep over, they have to do a background check. And, I don't want to tell any of my friends that, I want to sleep at your house, but I don't want your parents to know they have to go get fingerprinted, all this stuff." And then we don't do vacations very often because our foster parents often put us in respite because they go take a break and et cetera, et cetera. "Can we all sleep over at your house?" Seriously? Okay, we're going to do a sleepover. And it's a sleepover vacation. And I said, "Well, let's do a mini retreat." "No, it is a sleepover vacation." And I was laughing because there was a CAFO conference. And a friend of mine from CAFO called and said, "You're doing a sleepover?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, the kids that are here were telling us about the sleepover that you're going to have at your house, and we just thought they were making something up. It was crazy." I said, "Yeah, it's crazy, but we are doing it." So the boys and girls came. We had 22 kids in my house. It's not huge, but we had air mattresses everywhere. And we had food, and my neighbors all came, and everybody helped us. But I want to tell you, the very first day, you have 20 aged out kids. It was a bit crazy, girls upstairs, guys down. And the very first day, the hot water heater went out. And I was worried about hot water anyway, so I called the mayor and I said, "Hey, can we use the rec center? We need to take showers. Let me find a plumber." And Greg was there with us, helping me. And we were sitting around and just going, "What are we going to do?" Couldn't get the plumber, who was a pastor, until Sunday. Odd thing. But I'm sitting around in the house with a bunch of ladies who were having a very serious conversation with me about their incest, their rapes, their sexual assaults, their beatings. And we're in the living room. This pastor's going in and out with my husband fixing the hot water heater. When we were finished, I went to thank him because this is a big deal. And he leans over and goes, "What kind of house is this?" I didn't realize what he was hearing, but I think he was very well educated that day. The boys came up to me and said, "Lynn, would you do a men's retreat?" I said, "Do I look like a guy?" And Alex said, "Please, Lynn, please. My dad beat me, abused my family, and went to prison. I was then placed in a white foster home. He's black. And as I was in that home, the dad in that family died when I was 4 years old. So I was raised by a white foster mom. I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to break the cycle, and I don't know if I can do it. I don't know." And actually, Greg saw this. This young man broke down crying, saying, "I want to be a godly man." So I said, "Let me pray on this." I go to Oklahoma to do a summit similar to this, and we're talking, and I'm driving home, and I get this phone call that says, "I have this dude ranch on the corner of Kansas and Oklahoma. Would you want to stop by and see it for something you want to do?" Okay, so I go to the dude ranch, and I think Grizzly Adams on steroids walked up. It was a little freaky, and put us on horses. We are not horse people, but we were able to walk the next day, even though it was a lot of riding on horses. The fun part about that, I just have to say this because my husband's not here, his horse kept going backwards. I think he thought there was a switch. Because I'm going forward, and he kept going, "Lynn," and I kept going, "Come on," because it goes backwards. So anyway, that was fun. Anyway, I'm riding on that horse, and I hear, "This is your guys' retreat." Okay. I'm driving home from Oklahoma. I get a call from somebody in Georgia. "Would you do a retreat here in Georgia, one of those co-ed retreats like you did at your house?" I said, "Let me get home, and I'll call you back." I'm not even home yet, and I get a call from Arizona. I have a ranch in Flagstaff, and I've heard you're doing this work. I turned to my husband and I said, it is raining ranches. We're meant to do this. And so that's what we're doing. The first annual men's retreat is tomorrow in Spring Valley Ranch in Oklahoma. Powerful. Pray for it. I hate not being there, but I'm not a guy. So I hope there's 18 godly men, 22 young boys. Half of them I call Jesus Jedis because they said the only way they heal is with Jesus. Awesome. And then the others, a little hatred, a little anger at God because why did all this happen to me? And so they are all together. One big thing that I do, and I think it's very critical for you all to know too, always listen to the foster kids, the aged out kids to guide you on what you do. Do not do for, do with. Otherwise, we don't build them up. We don't let them walk in the image of God. We tell them we think we're better. Always, always, because they have let me know more than one time that I'm not that great. In fact, I've learned so much. One call in DC, I had 1,000 aged out kids on a phone teaching me. There's a lot of kids out there, so we can do better. Matthew 23:37 says, how often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. I'm gathering chicks under my wings. I want you all to gather them too. I'm a mama bear now, and we are going to do so much more. So let me finish and give you just a little bit more information. What are you doing and why? So let me tell you just a really quick story, and this will be really quick. I went to facilitate a huge forum in Colorado Springs, and on the dais was the governor, Congress people, legislators, the mayor, everybody in Colorado Springs, and about 300 people who were there to talk about human services. And they were asking tough questions, and you could just see these politicians just sweating because they're like, why isn't the transportation better? Why isn't this happening? And this lady walks up to the mic, and she's got her daughter in a wheelchair next to her, and you could just see everybody go, oh. And she said, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to tell you that 10 years ago, I got married, I'm living the American dream, I got pregnant, and I had my daughter with health issues. And I started to work on her health issues. I had to take a lot of time off work. I lost my job. The stress caused a divorce. We lost our house. And 10 years later, I have now figured it all out. 10 years later, she said, so all I want to ask you all is don't change anything. Everybody stood up clapping, and I got this pit in my stomach. I had 1,500 staff who had bachelor's and master's degrees. There are health department staff. There are mental health staff. There are transportation staff. And she had to take 10 years to get her some peace of mind. What was wrong with us? We should be able to have done that and helped her plan within 10 days. And yet we didn't. So of course, unfortunately for my staff, I went back to the office and said, guess what? We're changing how we do business. Never again are we operating in a silo. Never again do we have our ego and our turf. And I had to deal with mine too. Come first before some person. Together with churches and nonprofits and government and everybody, that woman would have had help in 10 days. We have to do better. Government has to do better. I don't care about bureaucracy. If you are only doing compliance and not getting an outcome, bureaucracy doesn't matter. Compliance won't matter. That's where you all are going to be going. You all are going to look at faces, not cases. You all are going to see that you can make a difference. There is hope. Last year after I got home, I received this email from Pastor Joshua Rhodes. And while I'm sitting and praying and saying, Lord, what do you want me to do? I get this. This weekend marks 1 year since we launched our vulnerable ministry, Foster, West Virginia, and I just wanted to take a moment to personally thank you for all that you have done and are doing for families. When you came to visit the ranch and meet with us local West Virginia pastors, I had no idea that my life would be changed that September evening. God spoke through you to my heart, and it lit a fire to go all in, both personally and as a church. That's what we're doing today. We're going all in, personally and as a church. So as we look at this and all the numbers, I want you to think about a couple things. We all need to pull together for West Virginia. Good things are already happening. Build on it. You're not starting from ground zero. Strengthen the families on the front end. You will impact violence, education, homelessness. Pulling churches together is magical. It shows the miracles of God. And if not us, then who? I created the nonprofit All In Fostering Futures as a collaborative network. We respond to crisis, but why do we have to wait for the crisis? And then, it's like, let me wait for the heart attack before I help you. Let's get there first. So what I am is a connector. I know people. I know how to connect. I know how to find services. I don't do program. I connect to the great programs. But your mission will be to support families so children do not enter foster care, to find forever family homes for waiting children, to engage aged-out youth with the support system and faith-based community, and to equip churches to support foster and adoptive families. And I didn't know we were going to hear about What If. That's my favorite. Do you guys know that Matthew West song, What If? Oh my gosh, it's so good. Listen to it after the sober. What if we bring the entire community together to wrap services around families who are in poverty? What if we could get children, okay, this isn't child welfare, think about this, who are 3 years older to their diploma and the parents to full self-sufficiency? What if the kids aren't truant? What if they're in school every day? And what if we brought non-governmental entities to the table to assist teachers and wrap around parents and tutor children to show respect, dignity, and love? We can do this. These things are not rocket science. Strengthening families is imperative to the social and economic well-being of our own country, but it's also very critical to your local communities. So you need to be bold, be strong, be courageous, but that also means take action. And that's not as easy. But the word action means, one, be all in. Are you all in for kids? Let's say all in for kids. Church compassion. The churches are moving. T, transformative training. We have to know trauma training. We have to know what works for foster kids. I, investment and influence. O, do not move forward without outcomes. If it's not getting outcomes, stop doing it. And then have strong neighborhoods. So I'm going to close with a quote. It's by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is not effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. I hope you are all getting ready to dare greatly. I hope you are strong. I hope you are courageous. Hang on, because I think you're going to have to see where it takes you, but it's going to be a roller coaster. It will be fun. Don't get sick on it. And thank you, and God bless each and every one of you.